Hey, ¿qué pasa, Calexico? Welcome back to the podcast. Like always, before we begin, I want to thank a couple of people. I want to thank my friends Jake and Sergio for sponsoring the podcast. I also want to thank Dylan Castillo from Castillo Bookkeeping Services. If you're in need of any bookkeeping services, you may contact them at 760-960-7601 or via email at acas1025@yahoo.com. Finally, I want to thank David Castellum. If you're thinking of buying a home or property in the San Diego or Imperial counties, make sure you contact David at 760-235-9576. He's not only a realtor, but an investor with over 20 years of experience, and he'll teach you along the way one of the most important investments of your life. Today's guest is, fairly new to our library system here in Calexico, but she's a lifelong resident from Calexico. My guest today is Megan Moreno. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes of what you do at the library, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So like you said, I'm a longtime resident of Calexico and the Imperial Valley. I also grew up in Brawley. But let's see. I'm a musician. I play drums. I'm in a band called Sweetie Darling. We just released an EP earlier this year. Let's see what else. I'm an educator, so I used to teach. I used to substitute teach, and I taught sixth grade for a while. I went to school in Humboldt, so in Humboldt County. I studied English at Humboldt State, and right now I'm working on my master's in library and information science at San Jose State. So all those skills that I'm learning, bringing them back here because I think it's important that, you give back to your community where you came from. So, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, your dad is John, right? John Moreno.
Yes, that's my dad.
So, it kind of like when I heard you say that it's good to be back and kind of like we were talking before we started recording about how you were digging through like old building stuff from the city and stuff like that. It's kind of funny that sometimes when I talk to your dad, like he'll have like these crazy stories or he knows so much about Calexico. It's funny that it's kind of like I don't know if he chose this route because of him, or is it just something that it's already in you that you're kind of like learning or keeping that tradition of knowing all this history from our city?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely influenced by my dad. When I was growing up, he was a teacher, and I always admired him for being such a good teacher. He taught sixth grade and elementary, and he has this wealth of information and knowledge that I can't, compare it to other people in my direct sphere. But he knows so much about Calexico. He knows exact dates. He knows exact families. He knows history from before he was even born. But I would call him a Calexico historian for sure, because when I have information that maybe I cannot find, I'll text him and be like, Dad, I'm looking up information on this. Do you have any sort of reference for me? So yeah, definitely. And then I went to his house the other day because he asked if he could do a special story time for the library, and he gave me like this really cute little 3D printout of the Carnegie Library that he had I don't know why. So he said, put this on your desk. So he does encourage me a lot. And we kind of have that, we kind of relate to each other through knowledge and books and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like, I mean, every time I talk to him, like, it's like crazy how much stuff he knows about Calexico, like old street names that are now this street and buildings that were once here but now are here. And yeah, it's so crazy that he knows so much. And like you said, like he knows exact dates and families and all these kids that they had. And yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah, I told him he should write a book because
yeah,
I mean, if he doesn't, where's that information going to go? So
yeah, or even like a blog or something where he can like I mean, now that everybody's at home and he can like probably start getting used to doing computer stuff, maybe even a blog would be pretty cool, or even a
Yeah.
like a video blog, like a vlog.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll try to tell him about that.
yeah, that's a good idea. But so recently you became the reference librarian here at the Kiki Camarena Library. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about and some of the roles you have there?
Sure. So I came, I was subbing for a while. So I was subbing for a few years, and I was kind of on the fence. Do I want to get my teaching credential or do I not? Because I did teach 1 year, sixth grade at Imagine School. And I felt like there was a part of me that still maybe the parent conferences or the grading, or I was like, is this role really for me? Because I do have a passion for education, but some of the teaching, the emphasis on testing at the end of the year, and that's whether it's charter schools or public schools, those emphasis on testing kind of, there was certain parameters that I felt kind of boxed in with teaching. So I was really like, what else can I do? So um, I saw an ad for a library, the School of Information at San Jose State. And even though I had already taken the GRE a few years back, they didn't need one. So the application process was super simple. So I said, I'm just going to do it. I got in. I started with taking kind of a lot of classes. They're grad classes. So I was like, I want to finish as soon as possible. And I knew that there was an opportunity for me to be the conversation facilitator at the library, where I was helping people, volunteering my time and helping lead a class so that people can be more conversational and fluent in English skills. So I said, you know what, I'm going to start doing that. I would go every Thursday evening from 5 to 7:30. And so that was a way that I could build up a little bit of skills, because prior to that, I had no knowledge that I wanted to be a librarian. I always thought, okay, I'm going to be an educator, a teacher. So then I said, I saw the ad for the open position, reference librarian. I jumped on it and did the interview, and I was surprised that I got it, but I'm glad I did, because this is a perfect opportunity. Despite the fact that we're in this crazy COVID time, it's a little bit slower. Things are transitioning to online programming. So I feel like as I'm learning the library system and how we're adapting, the library is also having to do that to adapt. So we're all kind of in this transitional period. But yeah, that's how it came about. And I didn't know I wanted to be a librarian until like a year and a half ago. And now I'm very happy.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And we're talking about how what a reference librarian is like in general. Can you tell us a little bit about what a reference librarian does at a library?
Mm-hmm. So in addition to reference librarian, which is my title, let me tell you what the reference librarian does. So they help people with information questions. So if somebody comes to the library and needs information about a recent diagnosis that they've just had, I can guide them to health information that is reliable. If they have issues with, or if they're new parents, I would be able to direct them to parenting books, people who have historical questions, people who need a reference on for a paper, so they need a scholarly journal. I would be able to direct them to reliable information, reliable sources. And another part of that is eventually, like, while I'm in the reference interview, whether it's phone, well, not in person now, but as I'm talking to the patrons, I want to be able to teach them a little bit about how they can find these resources on their own. So that way I am not the gatekeeper of the information, but rather the guide to all the reliable information that we all need, especially right now. So, but in addition to the reference librarian, I also feel like I'm doubling as the teen services librarian because I was able to design the online teen summer reading program. So normally we would have teenagers come in and they would be able to do the activities there in the library. But since we have the pandemic, I'm, doing video programming, talking about books, talking about different activities and stuff like that. So, and then I'm the literacy coordinator. So we have an adult literacy services program, which is really awesome. And in addition to ESL classes, and which are going to be starting up online in September, we have an amazing volunteer teacher who will be guiding those 3 times a week. We also have one-on-one tutoring. So if someone's trying to build their literacy skills, we can match you with a tutor. We have volunteer tutors. A lot of students from San Diego State right now are signing up to be tutors, and it's super exciting because for a while I wasn't able to recruit tutors, and that was very difficult. Like, how are we going to interview tutors? How are we going to train them on how to tutor? So I've been working on that program too. And just generally also just learning how to shelve books. We have curbside pickup. So, when the front desk is empty or the front area is empty, I will go and leave the books on the table so that people can call and pick up the books, because we're still doing the curbside checkouts. But it's been really cool and scary to still be doing this right now. We go in every day, and it's a service to the public, and I recognize that we're always trying to maintain safety while also serving the public. We have lunch that is we're working with the Calexico neighborhood house, so we distribute lunch packs on Monday. And that's, so I feel like we need to be here for the community right now.
Yeah. Because I mean, from what you're telling me, like, you guys do more than just check out books. I mean, there's a lot of things that, and it's funny because I remember growing up here in Calexico, and we would like just going, like, in the summers we would go to the pool, and then we could afterwards we could go cool off at the library and just, I mean, we couldn't mess around much because we needed to be quiet, but it was a place where we could just we could just come in and hang out, and I know, like, even now, like, people would still do that. Like, if it was too hot, like, they would come in and I don't know, read the paper or grab a book and just cool off for a little bit. But now that we're in the situation, it's different, but it's nice to hear that you guys are still servicing the community in many different other ways. And it's funny because, I've been watching, like, your Instagram live streams, and then I've seen that you guys are also doing, like, Zooms with kids and doing, like, arts and crafts and stuff like that. Who's in charge? Because I know you're not the one doing with the kids. Somebody else is doing the session with the kids. Can you tell us a little bit about those sessions with the little ones?
Yeah, absolutely. So Lisette Legaspi is the library manager. She's been at the library for decades, and she has some of the Zoom programming. She holds the special story time. She invites guests. She herself does story time. So that's for elementary school kids. And then there's baby time, which is for pre-K kids, 0 to 3 children. There's also an adult book club that has a Zoom meeting every 2 weeks, I think. But really, like, for any age group, from babies to adults, we have programming going on. But Lisette has been at the helm of that, and she has been guiding our tiny little staff of 5 to kind of, like, push ourselves to do these things. And I think having that presence, that visibility, like, we're still here. You can tune in, you can talk to us, like, in the Zoom sessions for certain. It's been difficult with the Instagram because people can just, they it's not as interactive
Yeah, they just watch
as
it.
the Zoom session. So she knows the kids by name. It's just really cool to see. They do sing-alongs, and so they have like a little, even especially during summer, there's a little bit of routine where we're socializing, we're having fun, we're reading a cool story. So
Cool, cool. And then you're mainly in charge of like the Instagram stuff. Okay.
yeah, so I do the Instagram. Am I cutting out a bit?
You're back to normal, but yeah, you were cutting up a little bit before, but now I think you're good.
Okay. Yeah, it said my internet is unstable. Okay, but yeah, I do the Instagram, and we eventually want to start a YouTube channel, but I have to get better at video editing, and I have to learn how to do that. I have an account with Canva, and so I'm learning how to do graphic design, making the flyers for the events. Everything has been a learning process. So like we just had this past week, we had issues with the internet during our programming, and it was kind of like a little bit unsettling for me to guide the program forward. But for the most part, I feel like I'm doing a lot of research. I just found an app that allows you to do Instagram live stories from your desktop. So maybe next week my programming might be a little bit more stable, but it's been learning how to use these technologies, because I feel as a older millennial, one of the the earlier millennials, I grew up in that time period right between playing outside and then being on the computer the whole time. So I think we didn't get our home computer till I was 12, and then I was just big old computer nerd, learned how to build computers and things like that. But for a while I didn't follow up with the technology, and it just has surpassed me. So yeah, just learning how to use a lot of the technologies and being able to feel engaged, like, because now we can't have patrons coming in. How do I create a conversational, casual kind of tone with the viewer, where they feel comfortable participating or engaging? So that's been my learning curve right now.
Yeah, and I think everybody is in that place right now where, like, you know, this is new to everybody. Like, well, I work in the district. I'm a computer tech for the district, and yeah, we're going through this phase where, like, even teachers that kind of knew how to use computers are not like really being forced to use them. And so, like, yeah, like, since everybody's being forced and everybody needs to do it, like, yeah, everybody's in that spot where, like, but I feel that I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I feel that it's important for the community to know that they might be frustrated because they don't know how to use the technology. It's the same thing at the other end, with the teachers, with the administrators, with librarians, that we're all in this little space where, like, we're trying to make things as simple and as seamless as possible, and it'll we'll probably eventually get there, and hopefully by that time we'll be back to seeing everybody face to face. But we have that in our repertoire of stuff that we can use in the future. So, like, if anything like this ever happens again, like, we can go back to that and like not feel as behind as we are now. But yeah, like, yeah, it's crazy how how I've been talking to a lot of people in different fields, and they're on that same place, like, having to deal with technology, having to learn it, and hopefully, like I said, like, hopefully we can all connect and make things seamless as possible, so that we don't feel as lost. But yeah, so where can people find schedules and when these events are going on?
So we just had a staff meeting yesterday. So we were talking about the fall programming that's coming up. But the summer family reading program has just about ended. This coming week will be the last week for that. But going forward, I'm still going to be doing the STEAM labs. There's going to be a family night on El Día de Independencia, and we're gonna have like a virtual thing where we read a story and things like that. So we're still engaging with the community, and we're upholding our culture and our traditions. But for the time being, we have the August calendar up, and that has all the events coming up. That if you go to calexicolibrary.org, the calendar should be on the right side. If you need to have it in Spanish, you can easily click en español, and the whole website will be translated for you. There's a lot of online resources that we have we have one called Hoopla, and all you need is your library card. If you don't have your library card, you lost it. You haven't had it since high school. All you do is, we have a little form that you fill out, and we'll send you the card in the mail and give you your number right away, so that you can use a lot of those online resources. Like Hoopla is one that I'm really into. Hoopla Digital. You can you can borrow books. You can borrow ebooks, audiobooks, TV shows, movies, and their comics have their comics are read panel by panel. So if you have your tablet and you're looking and you want to read the graphic novel or a comic, you'd be able to see every panel. There's also Libby Overdrive, where you can also borrow ebooks, and so there's a bunch of resources that we have where all you need is your library card, and it's free to sign up. If you need to renew it, we'll renew it. But I think to use books and movies and TV as not as a form of escapism, but we need good stories. I think right now we need to be able to see stories that are uplifting, stories where people are making change, because we're going through a period of deep transition, and this is a time for reflection. So I think really reading stories that mirror your culture, and stories about people from different cultures. I think if we can learn to use those to heal a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now. There's a lot of hatred, and everyone feels so divided and that kind of thing. So I think if we can use stories as tools to recognize our strengths and our shortcomings the same as anybody else's strengths and shortcomings, because I think that's what's happening right now. There's a lot of black and white thinking, and when you watch a movie or you read a book and it's about somebody completely different than who you are, especially with novels, like, you're forced to be in the perspective of another person. You're forced to look through the eyes of somebody else, and you develop empathy skills. A lot of the education is talking about social emotional issues right now for children dealing with COVID and just high unemployment rates in the Valley and things like that. If we recognize that books can help teach us empathy, I think we should all be reading a lot more. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's something that I've been doing, like, during this pandemic, is being at home. I'm trying to read more. I think I spend too much time on YouTube watching videos. So now I've made some space in my day to, like, sit down and read. I put some lo-fi music and just, like, relax and read. And like you said, like, chill vibes.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of like it's a good way to, like, learn and just, like, get away for a little bit. Like, you deep dive into this book you're reading, and you forget for a little bit, because I mean, even though you're watching something that might be fun, but I don't know, it's too much information at your eyes. So, like, it's better to sit down and read. And I tried audiobooks for a while, but it's a different feeling. I'd rather actually read the book than I have a bunch of audiobooks in my Audible account that I haven't really listen to, because I don't know, it's easier for me to get distracted when I'm having my headphones and doing something else than just sitting down and actually reading the book. I think it feels feels better in the hand when you have the book in your hand.
Yeah, it's a different experience. I relate to that. I have been listening to a couple of audiobooks at work here and there, but I've finished a lot more like physical books. But one audiobook that I would recommend if you have Audible, and I downloaded it from Audible, is called Stamped. It's called, Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. And it is a book that was adapted for young adults. But the book that it was adapted from is, I think it's also called Stamp, but it has a slightly different title. But the author of that original one is Ibram X. Kendi. But he asked Jason Reynolds, who is a young adult novelist. He's also our current national ambassador for young people's literature. Jason Reynolds, he adapted it with Ibram X. Kendi. And so this book teaches us about the history of America. And Jason Reynolds reads it, and the way he reads it, you can listen to it. And that I'm pretty sure that is a audiobook that you will enjoy, because his tone is very conversational. He's lighthearted. He's talking to you on the real, like he's talking to you about the reality of America. And I know in the beginning of the book, he says this is not a history book, but I think he writes that for young people because they're kind of opposed to reading a history book. Like a teenager, why do I want to read a history book? But it is actually a history book. It's a really, really good one. And I definitely recommend that one. That's one of the best audiobooks I've listened to.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. Stamp.
Yeah.
Cool. So Megan, is there anything that that I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about that you would like to add before we end this episode?
Let's see. No, I just think I think people should recognize that libraries are super important, probably more important now than ever, and just remind yourself that libraries are not just for physical books. They're community hubs. They're places that you can get information. They're places where you can meet people who have similar hobbies as you. Like, for instance, we're going to hopefully start a manga anime club later this month, because that might be something that teenagers want to have a space to talk about, like, and that I'm trying to argue for the existence of libraries, but sometimes when people want to take the funding away, they have no use for libraries, and it's just really I'm really grateful that I found this profession. I don't have to grade papers, and I still get to educate people on information literacy, health literacy, plain old literacy, and that the idea is that we're serving the public, we're public servants, and don't forget to renew your library card and use the resources that we have. That way you don't have to use Amazon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you
have your library right there.
And I think like going back to what you said about trying to defund like libraries and we don't have any use for them. I think that's something that for a while I might have thought of, like, oh, nobody goes to the library anymore because we have Google or whatever. But I feel that, like you said, like it's more than just a library. It's, like you said, it's a hub. People come in to maybe just check their email, but while they're there, they'll walk around and meet other people. And yeah, I mean, it's, and like you said earlier, you guys do more than just books. You hand out food for the community. It's a cool spot to come in during the summer. You have, I know that my friend takes her daughter every time there's like the Dr. Seuss event. So like you do all these things that, encourage the community to read and stay informed and stuff like that. So yeah, the library is more than just the place to go check out books and and hear people tell you to be quiet. So
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, make sure to I even checked out I renewed my library card, but I owe some money, so I need to pay that back.
I don't know if I don't know if we're enforcing the fines right now, but you should double check with that one.
Yeah. I think I emailed Ms. Gaspi, and she's like, yeah, we'll take care of it later, because you don't want to like meet each other. But yeah. Megan, thank you so much for taking this time and being on the podcast. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank everybody at the library for the things that they're doing for the community. And yeah, make sure to check out the library's website. Is it calexicolibrary.org, right?
Yeah. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/camarena.memorial.
Okay. And then
Instagram at Camarena Library. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, make sure to check them out just to see, all the events that are going, and like Megan said, they might have that manga anime club. So I know a lot of young kids out there like anime and stuff like that. So make sure to check it out and check out all the things that they're going on. So yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.